this demonstration, I will show you how to use a deferral on a purchase invoice. Now, and the first step is creating a deferral template. So I already opened the deferral templates page. And let's create a new one. And the deferral template specifies the settings that the program will use to calculate the deferral amount. And in my example, I will apply the deferral template to a purchase invoice for a fire insurance. All right, so let's start with creating the template. So let's use 12 months as a description. So this is a deferral template I would like to use to defer the amount over 12 months. A deferral account. So I will just use an existing account. There we go. And then here the most important is the deferral schedule fast step. So first of all, I need to specify the deferral percentage. So I will stick to the 100, which means that the full amount will be deferred. So the full amount that you post in your document or journal. If you don't want to defer the full amount using this template, you could enter 60 or 50 or whatever. Then there's the calculation method. So this looks a bit like the depreciation method of a fixed asset. So I can use straight line, equal per period, days per period, and so on. So in most cases, straight line will do, but as you can see, there are also other methods that you can use. Then there's the start date, which in my opinion is quite an important field. So the first option is posting date, which means that the start date for calculating the deferred amount is the posting date of your document and or journal. But you could also use the beginning of the period, which means the first day of the period that you're posting your document or journal in, the end of the period, the beginning of the next period, and even the beginning of the next calendar year. For example, I'm posting my insurance invoice in November 22, but it's for an insurance that starts on January 1st, 23. So then I could use the beginning of the next calendar year. All right. So in this case, let's just use posting date. Then the number of periods. So this is very important because you might want to defer an amount over 12 months or maybe only 2 months, 6 months, and so on. So you could set up several deferral templates with all a different number of periods. But for this example, I will just use 12 and then the period description month. Now, pay attention because I already saw that this could be confusing for some users in the beginning. The number of periods is not linked to the period description. So this is just a description. I can type whatever I want. The 12 is linked to the accounting periods. So it's based on the accounting periods that the system will calculate the deferral amount. So and if your accounting periods are set up as months, these 12 means months. But if you set up accounting periods as quarters, we're now looking at 12 quarters. Now for my demo company, the number of periods are just months, so that's fine. I will create a new purchase invoice. I will just use one of the existing vendors. So vendor 10,000. I will enter an invoice number or a vendor invoice number at least. And then here on the lines, I will not use an item, but instead I will select GL account. So I've created a new expense account, fire insurance, but you can also use another account if you want. So I will enter the quantity and then the direct unit cost of 2,000. So there we go. So far this is quite a normal expense invoice. So from my insurance company for paying the yearly fire insurance. But this is, like I just said, an insurance for a whole year. So instead of posting everything to April 22, I would like to divide the full amount in 12 and then post 1/12 to each month in the following 12 months. So that's basically what a deferral means and what it also does. Now to achieve this without any additional manual work, you can now assign a deferral template to the purchase line. Now I've added this field through the personalize function, so this is something that you first might want to do if you're following the example. And so it's not a unit of measure. So here in the deferral code field, I can select my new deferral template that I just created. Now, and this will have an impact when you post the invoice. Now, what is going to be the impact? For me as a user, that's of course interesting to know before having to actually post the invoice. Well, there are two ways to find out. So the first one, if I click here on line functions, no, it's related information. Yeah, there we go. So line related information, I can run the deferral schedule. So, and this will show me the amounts that are going to be posted in each month. So in my current month, there's a deferral of 111.11, and that's because we're already at the 11th day of the month. Then in the next month, so in May, 166.67, and so on. And so that's a first way to look at how the deferral template calculates the amounts to defer. Now, what's also interesting, I will stick to this example, but notice here at the top, you can still make adjustments if you want. So the settings of the template are applied, but I can still switch to another calculation method if I want. I could still change the starting date and even the amount to defer, you see. So it's a suggestion, but I can still change these settings and then run the calculate schedule function. Okay. Now I just said there are two ways to check the result before having to post the document. The second one is the preview posting, which is also very interesting because it's even showing a bit more information. So if I go to posting and if I run the preview posting function, you're probably familiar with the function. Then you can see here that the posting would result in 30 GL entries. Normally an invoice like this would result in maybe 2, 3, or 4 GL entries, depending on how taxes or VAT is calculated. But in this case, I will have 30 entries. And that's of course because of the deferral postings. So if I click here on the 30, I can also check the entries, including all the GL accounts that the system will use. And that's of course also very interesting, especially when you're starting to begin using deferrals, because maybe you want to double check whether the financial processing is like you expected. And for that, the preview posting function is just perfect. All right, so this looks good, which means that I'm ready to post the document. And if I now click on posting, post, the program will process everything. Yeah, and let's have a look at the posted document. But yeah, if I run the find entries function, it will be quite similar to what we just saw with preview posting. So let's go and have a look, find entries. First of all, you might see a difference because there are only 6 entries. And that's, of course, because the find entries function is also based on the posting date. If I would remove the posting date and then click again on find, you will now see the 30 entries. The initial 6 entries that you just saw were the entries on the posting date of the document. But by removing the posting date and running the function again, you can also see the 30 entries that we just saw in the preview posting. Okay, so that's how you can use deferrals in a purchase invoice, and you can do this in almost exactly the same way in any other purchase or sales document, and even in journals like general journals.